folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 14th of February 2020. Happy Valentine's Day. Swastiastu, as they say here in Bali. Selamat pagi, as they say in Indonesia. Good morning. So today we're going to talk about some supply and demand theory. And this is my favorite time of the week because it allows me to dive a little bit deeper in some of this theory that we use, Pipnotic. So today we're going to talk about buy and sell zones, because this is a question that keeps coming up. Lots of requests about identifying these areas, which ones are important, which ones are not. And so we're just going to focus on one time frame, which is going to be the weekly, because the weekly chart has a lot of clarity. And we're just going to walk through a price chart on a couple of symbols and have a look and try and identify price sensitive areas that we can watch here in the coming weeks. Okay, so we're going to start on the American dollar Swiss franc. Note here that price is wriggling lower. And we have a lot of selling at this stage here because of price forming these trading below these this most recent major swing low. But also note that we have reacted this child demand here. This is a child because we poked into, I'm going to use this tool here. This is the area on the weekly. Looks like this. And we have another area here, which is just here, this one right here. We'll mark off that area. Tested. And so we have the parent, we have the child. Price reacted at the child, and now we're starting to move north. And so the next question is, well, where is price going to go? That's a really good question. That's the golden question I think that most people want the answer to. But here we're going to focus on a couple of things that will help us identify these areas where price is going to have a bit of a bounce at. And so we're going to talk about buy zones and sell zones, because this is essentially kind of the core theory at supply and demand. It's going to be a little bit different than a lot of the traditional supply and demand theory, where there's discussion of proximal lines and distal lines. We don't use that at Pipnotic. We have kind of created our own model, which is it's quite different, and we refer to entry areas as the beginning of buy and sell zones. Okay, and so we'll start here. Okay, prices reacted off weekly demand, as we can see. This is important because we know that we have already onboarded a lot of buying, and so selling can be a little bit risky. That doesn't mean we can't, it just means that we have to manage our risk. Okay, and when I say manage risk, I mean when price reacts at weekly demand, it's really going to move. I mean, we took this trade when price poked into it probably a few weeks ago. Okay, and so this is just this is one of those trades that when price pokes into monthly, weekly supply and demand, it normally moves for a few weeks. And you can see here, we sat on this trade for quite a few weeks before it started to mature. This of course requires patience. I mean, you have to get into these positions and you have to wait. You have to wait a long time, sometimes a week or a month or a couple of months before price finally starts to move. I mean, in price, we looked at this area here, and then we marked off the beginning of the buy zone, which is here. And why is it here? And that's because this is the cheapest price went to before it left. So we were filled on this, and we had to wait for this week to close. We had to wait for another 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, okay, for price to finally do what we wanted it to do. And now we're starting to move high. Notice that this candle closed above the previous week, and so I mean this is exhibiting strength. So we can expect price to wriggle higher for a while. We don't know how long, but maybe another week or two. But if we have a look here, when I talked about a beginning of a buy and a sell zone, I mean, what does that mean? And so let's have a look at that, and I'll show you how to very quickly and effectively identify these really price sensitive areas. Okay, so what you need to do is, it's best if you're focusing on major turning points in price. I mean, we have one here. We have kind of a messy one here, kind of looks like that. We have another one here, which is a nice one because price went up and left. We have another one here. Okay, and the reason I didn't choose this one here, because this is a reaction to this. So here we have child areas of demand, and we have the parent, which is just here. Okay, and so this is important to note. We have another one here. And if we zoom out a little bit, we can notice we have another one here, another one here, and we have a couple more up here, okay? And so when we identify the areas of these supply and demand zones, the beginnings of the buy and the sell zones, we have to focus on where price stalls. Okay, so you notice here that price left this high, we came down and we stalled on this candle here. And you can see this because when price is uncertain, like it is here, it's taking a bit of a pause. And what happens inside this little period of consolidation is this. Okay, so let's say that we have, this is a week of trading. This is the open of the week. This is a close of the week. Okay, so right here, this price point right here is when this candle opens just here at the high. So this candle opens, and what happens here? So price comes in, okay, and it comes in just above the middle of the candle. You can see it kind of comes in just about here. You can see that this candle, I mean the body of the candle is towards the top, and it exits the week a little bit below, just a little bit below, okay? And so what happened in the meantime? What happened in the meantime is that you can see that price we went down, went up, we went down, we went pretty high. This is a high, and price went like this, and we went down to the low, and we came back up, okay, and then the week stopped. I mean, what's going on during a price pattern like this? What's happening here is that the brokers are distributing liquidity. When you see these periods of trading where price kind of enters and goes up and down like that, they're distributing liquidity, okay, to the retail space, to the retail market, okay? So they're on the sell side and we're on the buy side as the retail market. When this happens, this is normally a sign to the trader it's time to wait and see. When you see this going on, it means that we're distributing liquidity, but we don't know if price is going to go up as a result or if it's going to go down. Okay, so you have to wait and see. Okay, and then you can see the following week, I mean, price closed below the low of this candle here. So that's telling us that we were distributing liquidity to fill short orders. Okay, and you can see this very clearly on this next candle, the following candle. Okay, so price did this, and then we gapped down. So the next week it kind of opened here, and then we managed to do something like that. We had a bit of a push here. You can see the little wick there and a tiny wick just above, and that's what we can see here. And so in a situation like that, we have to be able to identify the area where price is most likely to continue to move down from. We're getting pretty close to this, so this is a really nice opportunity for us to observe what price does when it comes here. Okay, so what we have here is price came down, we distributed, we sold, we closed lower. So we had one period of distribution, which is lovely. Okay, this candle this week opened, we went up, and then we went down, and then we went up a little bit, and then we closed, and then we formed this candle here. Okay, so what we have inside here is we have the beginning of a sell zone. So normal supply and demand traders, they'll talk about, I mean, you have the proximal line and the distal line, and so they'll mark it off like this. Okay, we have an area of supply that looks like that. But what we do is, if we refer to our pancake metaphor, you can see that we have, first of all, we have an upside down plate. This is an upside down plate just here, and on this plate we have pancakes. We have the first pancake that's here, have another one here. We'll draw a few more pancakes, and we have another pancake just here. And these pancakes are, for me, a metaphor for pools of liquidity in some way, shape, or form. I'm a pretty visual person, so I like to use vocabulary that draws a picture in my mind. And when I say pancakes, I mean, that's a pretty clear picture in my mind. So what happens is that when price comes up into this area, this area of supply, it has to find the pool of liquidity where price is going to react. And if you look here, note that when this candle closed, this one opened and we closed below here, but before we closed down here, notice that price went through the first pancake and maybe even through the second pancake before it was able to leave. So that tells us that we don't want to sell for a price any cheaper Let me use the other tool. Then the high of the highest retracement since price left. Okay, this is really clear here. And so selling here at the low doesn't make sense because the first pancake has already been taken, and it was taken by this push here, maybe even the second pancake as we discussed. And so we don't want to touch that. We want to draw these off like that. I'm just going to draw them in this order so I can remove them one by one. Then we have the one now that's sitting at the edge of the slingshot. And so when I use the word slingshot, I mean you have a price pattern where price comes down, we move sideways, price goes down, the slingshot is pulled back, and then we leave, like so. You need to find out where price pulled back to before it left, because this is the beginning of the sell zone. Okay, and the opposite for demand, where you have price go up, move sideways, moves up, slingshots pull back, and then we leave north. So you have to find out where this area is, and this is important because I mean price didn't leave from here or here or here or here. I mean the real damage to the structure of the market happened when prices pull back to this level. Okay, this level, not anywhere in here. And so selling at the lows of this doesn't make sense because price didn't do anything there. Price had to go deeper to find those sellers, and then it left. Okay, so if we remove this, we'll remove all these little things here. So when you have something like that, we can expect price to go here. And once price revisits the highs and takes this pancake off the plate, then it's going to have to go deeper to find a new pools of liquidity to sell. And when that one's gone, it's going to have to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And once this area is gone, then you have to find the next one. If you notice here, this candle closed below the low of this candle. What does that tell us? Well, that tells us the same thing, and that is that we have something going on here. So you mark off the high. Why? Because this is where this candle left from. I'll just draw it like this. We don't really know what's in there yet. We'll go like that. And then we'll have a look on the daily, first of all. Yes, I mean, look at this. So you can see here, price came down. We came down again. The slingshot was pulled back, and then we left. So what does that tell us about this area? Well, it tells us that, I mean, price left from this area here. Not here, but up here. So if we're going to draw our pancakes, so we go like this. We have something, we have another tiny one in here. This is a clue that we have to look a little bit higher as well once price has revisited this area, because we have a parent-child relationship here. We have this area of supply, and then we have a micro area of supply just above it, and that's what price is reacting on. So we draw these in like so. Okay, when price revisits this area, that one's gone, this is gone. And when this is gone, this is gone, this is gone, this is gone. But notice here we have something else going on, so let's have a look inside that. I'm just going to move this to this, which is a high. Mark off the high here. So this is our little tiny area of supply. Go to the 4-hour chart and have a closer look. And here you can see it. I mean, look at this. It's so fascinating, and it's so clear at the same time. And here you see it. I mean, look how precise that is. Okay, so you have this, price comes down, we come up, we leave really forcefully. The slingshot is pulled back to here, and then we leave. What does that mean? Well, that means that we're probably going to have a bounce when price reaches this area here. If you look at this area here, I mean, price came back to, let me zoom out a little. Okay, price came back to here, and notice here that price formed this, we came down, we went up, and then we left. Okay, and so we have a couple of things going on here, and this is important. You really have to focus on the details inside this little box. So let's take a deep dive and have a look at this. Okay, so where do we have these little candles being painted, where we have indecision, where we have distribution taking place? We have them here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 periods of liquidity being distributed. Okay, where's the candle that closed below it? We have it just here. Okay, and where did the candle have to return to in order to leave forcefully? It had to return to this area. So we have a tiny little area just in here, like that. Okay, so this is the area where we could start to sell. Okay, for this little one here. But notice the price has already been trading around these areas here. And when I see price doing stuff like this, it's like messing around. What's this doing? This is feasting. So these pancakes are getting munched very quickly. Okay, and first it's this one and this one and this one, and so this tells us that price is probably going to have to move above all of these because there's nothing left on the table. We have to move to fresh supply, fresh plates of pancakes, and we have that just here. So you can look at the high of this little pullback here before we are probably going to see a whole lot of selling take place. We have that here, and we can mark off this area here, and we can watch price as it sits on this area. Let's see if it's been there yet. Oops, let me remove all these. Yeah, we haven't gotten there. This would be an interesting one to watch. This is at the 98.07. So you can watch what happens. I'll publish this now, and then we can watch as price kind of gets to this area and figure out what it does. Okay, and notice here we have another situation where when price left here, we managed to move below this, and price formed this little pattern just here where price painted these white candles. So we have indecision, we have distribution taking place, then price left. This one and this one are not related because the bodies of this candle is not within range of the previous, and so we have this just here, and this is the one that left. Where did price have to go to before it left? Had to go to the highs, which tells us there's probably not a lot of supply here. But notice here that we had this candle, which is above this one, just here. This one closed below it, so here we have another one, which looks like that. Okay, prices, the slingshot was pulled back here. This one, this is a micro area, slingshot was pulled back here. So we have a couple of areas that we can watch, and if you look beyond that, we have a couple of things. We have one of those candles here. Price had to go all the way up here before it left. Okay, so we can mark it off like that. And for this one here, we did the same thing. Okay, so we have a lot of this going on. This one, this candle here, left this candle. Let me, I had to come up to here. Okay, this one closed below that one. Price came to here, price came to here again. So this is kind of gone, this pancake, you have to go deeper beyond that. And so, I mean, we have a few areas here that we can watch. So we'll leave those on there. Okay, and then we can watch and see how price reacts when they come to these areas. If we look a little bit higher, note that we have a pretty interesting pattern, and this is price kind of wriggling higher, how we probably have kind of currency strength, a divergence occurring up here like this. We probably have the strength between these two currencies. Rather, I know we do because we did this very quickly. So we had extreme currency strength divergence where the strength of the American dollar was weakening in relation to the Swiss franc. We're going down like that. Okay, and then we form this little area just here. So we're probably going to have a bit of a bounce at that one. So let's mark that off. Let's have a closer look at it first of all. And if you see here, this is in this, this is in this, this is, that's debatable. I'd say the open, the close of this is above this. And so we have a similar kind of thing going on. We can go like this to this. And notice that this candle went deeper into it. Okay, so price has kind of already kind of been around this area here. And when I see something like that, when I see kind of pokes or pins up into these areas, well, then this is kind of telling me that there's going to be a parent-child relationship. And so we just go like this, just to keep it super simple like that. Because for this whole structure, price had to come up here before we left. So if we have another deep dive, we have that candle pattern. This one left. Where did it go back to? It went back to here. There. So that's what we have there. So we have a few areas that we can watch, but I think it'll be pretty interesting. Okay, so we can watch those and see what happens. Okay, so anyway, I'm not going to go any longer because I don't think anyone's going to watch it if it's much longer, but we have a few areas that we can watch, and I advise you to mark off these levels I'm going to remove this one because this is difficult to see, just to kind of help clear it up a little bit. But mark off these areas on your charts and watch on the 1 minute chart as price gets to those areas. That'll be pretty exciting to see. Okay, and when you go on the 1 minute chart, you'll notice the exact same pattern is emerging once again, just on a smaller time frame. And so the smaller the time frame, the more accurate your entries. So you can start on the weekly so that you're trading at weekly buy and sell zones, but your entries are refined on the smaller time frames. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it at that for the time being. If you have any questions, please post them as a comment below the video or on our Discord channel. And thanks very much for taking the time to watch my video. Have a lovely weekend.